Okay, gotta make this quick for work. Um, so the first thing I learned was that the House of Representatives has a lot more members than the Senate. Um, and the Senate only has 100, while how like the Senate only can have 100 at any given time. Um, this is because the next thing I learned was that the Senate only allows 2 members per state, so it can only have a maximum of 100 since we only have 50 states. I also learned that the Senate serves 6-year terms, with a third of them up for election every 2 years. Lastly, I learned that the Senate is considered to be more prestigious rank than the House of Representatives. In the next vid, I learned that there is a delegate model, a trustee model, and a political model. And that's how most people represent us in that sense. I learned that the delegate model takes the path of fully doing what the people want, like fully following the majority, follow the crowd. While the trustee model is more of they put me here for my better judgment, I'm going to use my better judgment and just doing what they think is best. And the political model is just a bit of both, in which if there are things that like collectively lots of people agree on, they'll follow that. And if there is stuff that the community is kind of quiet about, then they'll take matters into their own hands. Next vid, I learned that there used to not be any limits on re-elections, which, yeah, I feel like I might have learned that at some point, but nothing comes to mind. I also learned that Hamlet was the one who created these limits, which is very interesting. And lastly, I didn't know that Theodore Roosevelt was the only president to be elected more than twice, and it was because of the special thing that was circumstance surrounding it. In the next vid, I learned that only the House can originate revenue legislation, and only the Senate confirms presidential nominations and treaties. The next thing I learned was that the enactment of law requires both parties, the House and the Senate, to agree, otherwise it won't be passed. And lastly, I learned that a Congress is a group of members in a chamber who share a party affiliation. In the last vid, I learned suspension of the rules procedure limits discussion to 40 minutes and doesn't allow amendments to be offered by members of the floor, and this is for bills to be passed. However, coming to the next thing I learned is that this is mainly for a majority vote, as 2/3 of members have to agree for it to be passed. And then lastly, bills that do not fall under the last procedure are often made with their own unique procedures based on the contents of a bill, and this is called the special rule.